All right, let's finish up the Hatchet franchise with Victor Crowley. I watched this at work, actually. I watched this in the van. I actually finished it before we got to our last work site today, so it was kind of weird. It's a short movie. This was actually filmed in secret. No one knew this was coming out until they put a little trailer before the Blu-ray came out, and yeah, you could tell that this was very low budget. It's it's in one location. They're on a plane for most of the film, and then it's part of a swamp, but it's pretty much one location. Like, they didn't have very much to do. Good things are Perry Shen is back, and he, unlike previous installments where he plays a different character in each film, he is returning to the role of Andrew, who is the sole survivor of the massacre from the first three films, because they all take place around the same time. So they say 40 people died, and this is 10 years later. However, there is a continuity error. They say that the massacre happened in 2007. Wrong! That makes no sense, because the first film came out in 2006, so it could only be 2006 or 2005. 2007 makes no sense. But we start the film in 1964 because we have to have a Victor Crowley kill. A Victor Crowley kill start off the film, but we can't do that because he hasn't been resurrected yet. So we go back to 1964, which from the way they talk, is shortly after his death. Maybe that's where he's resurrected. He shows up and he kills this couple, and they have it's this couple that are on the bayou, and he's gonna propose to her, but it's all, and what is this? And she smears her makeup. She goes to wipe it off, and he gets all messed up, and then they kiss because he proposes to her. She says yes, they kiss, and then you get the. I hate this gag because they're doing it in so many. They did it in another movie. I don't like that, where they kiss and then it comes between them. It's horrible. I'm like, this is the comedy we're gonna get. Thankfully, the comedy gets just a little bit better once we're introduced to Dylan. But yeah, of course they get killed, and Tyler Mane is there, and it's supposed to be the 60s, but they're not really dressed like it's the 60s because they didn't have a budget for that. So, yeah, Tyler Mane, we get our prerequisite horror, actors. We got Tyler Mane, Felissa Rose. That's pretty much it, because this was filmed in. So that's Timothy Shepis. She's been in a few things, although she's confined to a chair, going underwater slower and slower. Okay, so besides Perry Shen, we got other characters. We got these three young filmmakers who are trying to make a fan film about Victor Crowley in the swamp. Even with one guy trying to reprise the role of Ben. He's got a shirt with the logo that's done wrong. And Laura Ortiz returns to the franchise. And you're asking, who's that? Well, she's in this, and she's a friend of the couple that's there. She's one of the three that's making the video footage, and she's one of the main characters here. But she was also in Hatchet 2 when Jack Cracker looks at Shapiro's camera, and she's the one that says, "Leave me alone, I'm only 14. And he's like, "Oh, that's wrong." And turns it off, but it goes to the chicks from the first film. But yeah, now she's back. She still has a high-pitched voice, which is probably why they used her to play a 14-year-old, because of her voice. But now she's back, and she's one of the main characters. And I'm guessing it's supposed to be the same character if we're in this universe, And yeah, so Andrew, he's the sole survivor, the only survivor. So we're led to believe that means that Mary Beth is dead. Anyway, so Andrew goes on this talk show, which is hosted by his ex-wife, and it's 10 years later. Apparently, and they keep the running joke that he played multiple characters, because they say that he was actually taken to court and accused of the murders because his DNA was found on 2 of the victims. Get it? I didn't get it at first. I'm like, huh? Oh, they're doing the joke about he played 3 different characters, and they had, okay, I get it. The comedy in this movie is hit or miss. That joke landed for me. Just about everything that Dylan did landed for me, but there's a joke that they do, because, okay, let me tell you something, filmmakers who want to do comedy. Repetition is not funny. You have this, you have cameos from Adam Green and Joe Lynch. Unfortunately, Adam Green, at least I'm assuming it's not the same character, because now he would be dead, but is not playing his drunk character from the first 3, but there's a nice little arc there, but he and Joe Lynch are the co-pilots, and they do this joke where he keeps getting on the intercom going, we're going to be running a little bit late, and then it'll go away, and it'll ding back on again, and this guy keeps putting his headphones back in his, I'm just like, this isn't funny. Repeating something over and over again is not funny, it's annoying. Stop it. And maybe if they repeated it throughout the film, like the joke in the Freakazoid episode where the mom keeps popping up and saying, "Hi, have a great time now," that's funny. But having it repeat over and over again within the span of a minute and a half without breaks, it's just, no, it's not funny. Yes. And you can tell that there wasn't much of a budget for this because most of the kills are off screen, other than Felicity Roses, which is the best in this film. But, yeah, so they get in the plane, and they're going to fly back to Louisiana because they want to interview him on the swamp. Victor Crowley's dead, right? Well, the more I think about it, the way they bring Victor Crowley back is kind of stupid. It'd be one thing if you just had someone out there saying the voodoo curse and he comes back. But you have all these people on YouTube, and there's another continuity error, okay? And all these people on YouTube trying to recreate it, but then you cut to Dr. Zombie? Reverend Zombie. And he's on the phone on YouTube, and he says the thing is, "That's how you say it." Continuity error. YouTube wasn't a thing in 2006, at least it wasn't a big thing in 2006. Although they do try to, I think maybe they figured out that they messed up because later, they mentioned it was on a MySpace page, which Reverend Zombie had a MySpace page. That was 2006. There was MySpace back then, yeah. But I never had one. And it's still a thing? I don't think so. But yeah, they messed up because YouTube wasn't really a thing in 2006. It was probably around, but it wasn't. There was not like now. No way. It was probably better back then because there was no ads. Anyway, yes. So, yes, and we have they 3 characters making the film. They go to meet an actor named Simon, played by Dave Sheridan, who you may know from playing Doofy in Scary Movie. And so he's in this as Simon. He's honestly the funniest thing in this. Most of his jokes land for me. There's a scene where when the plane that Andrew was on, remember his name, is having turbulence. Guy gets sucked out of the window, right? Lands right in front of them, and he bends down, checks the pulse on his neck, and goes, "He's dead!" That made me laugh. I'm sorry. That made me laugh. At first, I didn't think I was going to think he's funny, because at first he's doing all these impressions like John Wayne and stuff, and I'm like, what is this? Is this supposed to be funny? After that, though, he is legitimately funny. There's when they find the plane, he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, your plane is crashed." I went, okay. He's trying to kick open a window. Those airplane windows you can't really break. There's like, why don't you use that one? Because he's trying to break open a window so they can stick the phone out the window to get better signal. Because of course there's no signal there. And he's like, why don't you use the one that's already broken? The cell tower's on that side. I know everything. I know the lay of the land. I'm like, why don't you just open the door? I know Victor Crowley's out there, but open the door and stick it out and try it. You see him coming, you can always go, although they do show that he's on top of the plane, but yes. And yeah, and so people get killed off one by one. They show Crowley's house, which was burnt down in the third one. However, they say it's like a tourist thing, so they could have built a new one there for tourism, because they said that they started doing tours up and down that river, so I'm assuming they rebuilt the house they use as a tour house, but then they stopped doing it because it's been 10 years, right? So this takes place 2016, I'm assuming, because that would make sense. I don't care what they said in the movie about about the massacre taking place in 2007. It couldn't have, because 2007 hadn't happened yet when the movie came out. I know it could be in the future, but it just doesn't make any sense. Sorry, but it's 2006. And this movie takes place in 2016. So, there you go. Don't listen to the film. Anyway, so, yes. People start to die. The Timothy Spettis' character is pregnant, and I'm assuming she dies because we don't see her again. Her boyfriend dies, and a bunch of other people die. Kills in this are okay. There was one that was creative, because if you can't like you don't have the budget for gore. There was one where the guy gets his head like cut off or whatever, and then you see the head roll from the camera's point of view. It rolls from the head's point of view where it's rolling. I like that, but yeah, and the end of Victor Crowley in this film is fantastic. Throughout the film, like that, there's another joke that didn't laugh at me with Dylan was when he first starts to hit on Rose. She says, "I have a dick," and then later. He's like, if I make it, it's like, where she's like, he's like, I will go and I will get the boat, or whatever he has to do, and he's like, on one condition, I come back, you give me a kiss. What? Yeah, I come back, give me a kiss, I'll get the boat. So he like basically he says he likes her, and they kiss, and she goes, if you rescue us, I'll fucking marry you. And she's like, okay, I don't care if you have a dick. And he runs off, and they're like, everyone's looking at her. She's like, I don't have a dick. That was just to get rid of him. She didn't say that, but I'm saying that, you know. But Jack, I keep thinking he's Jack from Tremors 3, because that's what it reminds me of. But Dylan, I also want to say Simon for some reason. Dylan sacrifices himself, and Victor Crowley shows up to kill them. They're the last three. Her, Andrew, and Dylan, Andrew, and Rose are the last three. And Andrew is able to push Victor Crowley towards not all the way into, but he's kind of stuck on the propeller that Dylan got working. And Dylan's like, I love you, and then he jumps and he kills both himself and Victor Crowley. Blood splats. Movie ends. Because you got to have that jarring ending. Because all of them do, right? No. And there it is. It's over. All of these have to have jarring endings, I guess. Quick, jarring endings. And, yeah. But then we get a mid-credit scene. We see a news report. Right? They Jeepers Creepers 3 did this thing. And they came out the same year, actually. So we get a news report where someone is reporting on the massacre that happened at the Honey Island Swamp. And then you see Danielle Harris. And she goes, I'm coming to get you, motherfucker. And it ends. And I went, she's alive! Because they kept saying that Andrew was the sole survivor to throw us off, because They wanted to do this thing, and it's very much like Jeepers Creepers 3. I won't ever review those movies for reasons. The first one I think is pretty good. Second one's okay, and the third one is horseshit. But at the end of the third Jeepers Creepers movie, they do a thing with the main character that I forget her name. But Trish. Just remember that's my mom's name. Where she's like, I'm coming to get you, or whatever, and I think it was handled here better, because I actually want this to continue. I wanted that to continue, but they should have given us, that should have been the third film, Jeepers Creepers 3, and not what they gave us, Jeepers Creepers 3. I want another Victor Crowley Hatchet movie. I want another one. Adam Green has expressed wanting to do another one, including taking Victor Crowley out of the swamp, which I don't know about that. I know it's repetitive to have Victor Crowley in the swamp, but that's where he's from. That's where he roosts. That's where he belongs. I don't know. I don't know how that would work. But, yeah, I thought this was fine. I'm going to say it's the middle of the road again, because there are some problems with it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give it a rating that it deserves. I'm going to say that Victor Crowley is so bad it's good. Because there's some stupid stuff in this film, but it's stupid. And I can enjoy that. So Victor Crowley is so bad it's good. Just going to put it above 2. So, because I don't rank 4 movie franchises with 4 movies. So, I would say that the worst for me is Hatchet 2. I don't hate any of these movies, but the retconning of the stuff from the first one, even though it expands on Victor Crowley's lore, meh. The fact that we don't really get any conclusion to Ben until the third one, and it's really just a throwaway gag. He's just gone. I just didn't particularly care for 2. I wouldn't mind rewatching it again, but to me, it's the worst one. Not terrible. None of these I think are god awful. They're just I know none of them are good movies. The first one is legitimately a good movie, but all these they're not. They're pure entertainment wise. They're not anything supposed to be, Oscar-winning movies or anything. But 2's at the bottom, and I'm gonna put Victor Crowley at 3. And then I'll put 3 at 2, and then the first one's at number 1, because the first one for me is still pretty good. So, yeah. So what are your thoughts on Victor Crowley? That's another thing. I'm gonna force shame you, Adam Green. Maybe if he didn't have a budget for this, maybe he didn't have the budget to get that song. But 4 movies, and you couldn't once have the song Mr. Crowley by Ozzy Osbourne. Not once. You had all that stupid rock music stuff, but you couldn't. Mr. Crowley. I would love to have that in one of those movies, but budget is a thing. So I'm made my in my peace with the fact we're never gonna get that. So, what are your thoughts on Victor Crowley? In the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.